talk about coaches?
Yeah, why not? Who would you like to see? I know you tweeted on our ATL on Fire uh,
Dark
handle
horse
that
pick.
Paul Riley, who is a with North Carolina Courage coach.
hmm So
Tell us a
Paul
little
Riley
the
is
rationale there.
the number one most successful club coach in America. Everybody, you say who's the most successful club coach? People say, oh, Bruce Arena, but
So
Paul
do you
Riley
think
is much
that
more successful.
Eels and do you think that there's any chance that they're actually? I know you're smart about this, but do you think they're actually talking to him at all? Is he even in the
No,
actual
no,
mix?
because I think they don't, but I think they have the reason why I tweeted it, not that well, with all of our following, maybe it'll get to them, but, I added, whatchamacallit from the AGC, Doug, and I
Yeah, Doug
added
Roberson.
Atlanta United because I wanted to, see if somebody could at least think about it for 2 seconds
Yeah,
because, so he's the most successful women's coach, in U.S. soccer history. He's just won title after title, and been incredibly successful. He plays exactly the kind of system you want to see in Atlanta United. They have every year scored the most number of goals, and have the most number of chances created. But what people forget is that Paul Riley, going back to our original conversation, he started out in the A League before there was MLS. He was coaching men, and he was the coach of the year every year coaching men in the A League, right? So he's had tremendous success coaching men as well. So, and he's in North Carolina. I'm going to guess that very much that Atlanta United is going to pay more than the North Carolina Courage. Maybe he would be tempted to jump. He's won everything there is to win in women's soccer. And to me, coaching is, maybe we'll get to this in a little bit, but coaching is coaching. And I think as a dark horse, a guy you could get who can clearly coach might be interesting.
yeah. I mean, I guess just being devil's advocate, don't you think that the ego of some of the players, whether it's PT or some of these players, look for the same reason that Miguel Amaron evidently came to Atlanta United? He was like, "Oh,
Mhm.
Tata is going to Atlanta United. I will follow that guy wherever he goes because he's
Mhm.
got this reputation."
But it's interesting. They followed Tata because of the success.
Yeah,
And of course, for him, be weird because there might be some people be like, oh, who cares about the success? But, in women's soccer, but he'd come in as a very confident coach who's had a ton of success.
yeah.
And, it would be up to him to earn the locker room very quickly, but he's not going to take any, I mean, this guy knows how to coach. He knows how to handle a professional team.
Yeah.
Um, he's not going to have any problem. I think, and, great coaches are great coaches when you turn out to get one. And to be honest, they're extremely rare. The reason why this is difficult is the great coaches are really rare.
Alan, do you have any, if you were out there hunting for an Atlanta United coach, do you have any thoughts on who you would maybe put into the hat?
Do I know anyone?
Yeah, I mean, just whether, it's a coach, whether it's a dream, a dream opportunity for, uh, picking Pochettino or whoever, like, that might be able to make the move.
Mm.
You know,
Yes,
who would you?
yes, yes, and yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, well, of
Pochettino.
course.
Pochettino. Yeah,
Yeah.
Pochettino would be a good one. Yeah. Uh, no, I mean, I I don't think I do. I think the available coach that I know you wouldn't want. The one that was recently released at FC Cincinnati. You actually, I thought Alan Koch did a good job. I don't know where he's at right now. He was the one that took FC Cincinnati through their first couple of years, or I guess last like year and a half in the USL, and was part of their transition into MLS. I think there were some pretty good reviews of him. The other coach that FC Cincinnati had was John Harkes. I don't know that he would be a good fit. I don't know where he's at right now.
I'm tired of seeing, former national team players considered as coaches over people who can really coach. Just because, and John Harkes was a fantastic player, but just because you can play doesn't mean you can coach. And there
I
are
think that's right.
many examples. Alex Ferguson, not a great player, great coach. Mourinho hardly ever played at the professional level, was a very accomplished coach. There are other exceptions too. Pep Guardiola was a very good player and a very good coach. So it goes both ways.
So
I've been
Pochettino, can we talk about Pochettino?
You can talk about it, but it's not going to happen. Sure.
Oh, because Pochettino, checks all the boxes, right?
Yeah.
So did really well in Spain, did really well in England, both Southampton and Tottenham. Speaks Spanish, speaks English. Clearly would have the locker room, right from the beginning. Develops young players. Checks all the boxes.
To that end, you might think about, did he have an assistant or someone who's been with him that could be available?
Mm-hmm.
That might be the way to go.
Because it feels like the MLS though is the league where people want to prove themselves against a stepping stone. Whether it's Thierry Henry going to Montreal Impact, building up his resume a little bit, or maybe he loves Canada. I don't know, but it feels like it's going to be hard to get somebody here, because even some of the folks that have been rumored that would be a good fit, like the River Plate coach, was it Marcelo Gallardo? Is that his name? He's all but said, hey, my next stop would be Europe. If not, I want to stay here. And same with Miguel Herrera, who's the coach of Club America, kind of the same thing. I think they want bigger stakes in terms of what their next steps would be versus going to the MLS. I don't know if COVID has changed that in terms of what,
One thing,
if anyone's out there, they want to work.
Yeah.
One thing I think is underappreciated, again, this idea that coaching is coaching. I'm going to throw out a non-soccer example. In Wisconsin, in basketball, Wisconsin had a very mediocre basketball team for a long time, and they had fired their coach, and there was a Division III basketball coach who won the national championship all the time, and they passed over. And then they had a new opening, a few years later when the coach failed. They passed over again. The third time they actually hired the guy, and it turned out to be Bo Ryan, and went to the Final Four multiple times and was the most successful coach they ever had. I think one thing you can think about is look around at successful coaches. Even, as weird as it may sound, youth soccer coaches or whatever, I might be more in favor of going with someone who's had real success over these names who've coached at a very high level, but have had, some of them have had some of the names on this list. We talked about Gallardo, or, even some people have been mentioned like Gabriel Hines. It's had, one kind of coaching job. Javier Aguero is a guy who's been around forever and had some success, but also had some major failures. And it's not a rolling, this is not a slam dunk Pep Guardiola kind of situation. And so Tata, on the other hand, was a guy who had really pretty much succeeded at every coaching job he had. He did get run out of Barcelona, but they didn't give him any. Well, any
whether
chance.
you're going to win the league or whatever, you're like,
he won the league. He won the league and got run out, kind of thing. You're like, whatever.
So do you think that Eels and Boca Negra are looking at prospects like that aren't the splashy names, that are people who are proven success, that are on the up, that no one would know their name from Shinola, that they would consider?
Yeah, the other thing is interesting, like even a Caleb Porter, who's the Columbus coach now.
Yeah.
He won the national championship multiple times at Akron, of all places, a non-soccer school with, and he did ultimately turn out to have Nagby on a couple of those teams. But, and then he went to Portland and had some success. And I have a feeling that he's going to do very well at Columbus. If you give that guy a team, he has shown over and over that he can coach. It's just he hasn't necessarily been in a case where he's had a great roster, but he's always succeeded even in MLS.
All right. Thanks for listening. If anybody actually made it this far in the podcast, I'd love to hear your feedback on Twitter at ATL on Fire. And tell your friends to subscribe. We are on iTunes, Google Play, and really any sort of podcast platform that you're on.